Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ratu Shavira from Accounting Department 2016 of Andalas University. On this occasion, I will present my thesis, The Influence of Intellectual Capital on Financial Performance of Textile and Garment Companies. Before that, I would like to say thank you to my thesis advisor, Professor Dr. Niki Lukviarman, S.A. M.Pa. AKCA, who helped me to completing this thesis. And also, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to present the presentation. In this presentation, will be discussed five topics. First, introduction. Second, literature review. Third, research methodology. Four, result and analysis. Five, conclusion. First, chapter 1 will be discussed about research background, research question, research objective, research benefit, and writing systematic. Okay, for the research background, the development of technology, innovations, and increases of competition made companies aware that they need innovation capabilities, information, and knowledge. So they must change the business from labor-based business into knowledge-based business. This knowledge, for example, the knowledge that company have that different from the other. So it can be used for strategic, for more sustainable resource, to competitive advantage because this knowledge is not exist outside the company or do not have in the other companies. The main objective of knowledge base to create value added from the efficiency of using company resource, which will improve company performance, and one approach to assessment and measure it using intellectual capital. The company awareness of the importance of intellectual capital by using all the resource is the foundation for company to become competitive advantage. By using all the resource efficiently will provide value added for the company. And the method to measure intellectual capital is using value-added intellectual coefficient that consists of human capital efficiency, structural capital efficiency, capital employed efficiency. Also looking into the growth of the textile and garment companies in period 2016 to 2019 in the midst of technology and innovation, in the midst of free-flow market ASEAN country requires the companies to improve their resource, including human resource, structural, and also relationship with third party that in line with intellectual capital. So company can survive and have competitive advantage because the efficiency of intellectual capital is believed play an important role in increasing company financial performance. Based on the background, for the question of the research will be, does intellectual capital and its indicator affect the financial performance of textile and garment companies? And the objective will be to determine the effect of intellectual capital and its indicator on financial performance. And for the benefit, first, this research will be expected to be material for consideration and input for company to improve its financial performance. Second, can be used for future research in order to increase insight and knowledge about the influence of intellectual capital. For the writing systematic will be 5 chapters. Chapter 1 about introduction, Chapter 2 literature review, Chapter 3 research methodology, Chapter 4 result and analysis, and Chapter 5 conclusion. Chapter 2. Chapter 2 will be discussed about financial performance, theories, intellectual capital, previous research hypothesis, and conceptual framework. Financial performance is determination that measures the success of organization in generating profit by manage and control its research. Performance is achievement that has been achieved by a group or individuals. Financial performance is the description of company financial condition, which is analyzed by financial ratio. From this analysis, it can be seen how company financial condition reflected work performance. The financial ratio is analysis tool used to assess financial performance based on financial comparison data in a period. The type of financial ratio are leverage is how heavy company debt, liquidity, how easily company can hold cash, efficiency, how productive a company in using its asset, and profitability, measure the return of the company. For this research will be used the profitability ratio and efficiency ratio, which is productivity ratio. Uh, why we use profitability? According to the Kashmir, the profitability is a ratio to assess a company's ability to seek finance. The performance of company can be reflected in the profit. The company's ability to earn profit will attract the investor. So it will be used return on asset, which is a profitability ratio that measures the company's ability to generate profit from the use of all its resources and assets, and also will be used ROE, return on equity, that is profitability ratio that measures the company's ability to generate return from shareholder investment in the company. The comparison between profit obtained with the asset or capital used to generate profit is a reference for measuring how efficient management or not. And then for the productivity will be used asset turnover. This ratio used to measure the company ability to produce income from its asset. It shows how company assets are used to generate sales. Productivity measures the effectiveness of the company in using or utilizing the resource owned by company to generate revenue. Why? The higher ratio of asset turnover means the more efficient the company generating revenue from the asset. And then theory. Resource-based theory. This theory views the company as a pool of resources and capabilities. The difference in the resource and capabilities of company with competing company will provide competitive advantage. The assumption is how company can compete with other company by managing its resource according to company's capabilities. Capabilities show what company can do with its resource. Resource-based theory stated that a company can achieve sustainable competitive advantage and gain benefit by owning and controlling strategic assets. And then stakeholder theory. This theory explains the relationship between management, companies, and its stakeholder. In the context of value-added intellectual coefficient, stakeholder theory argued that all stakeholders have right to be treated fairly, and manager must manage the organization for the benefit of all stakeholders. By utilizing all the potential of company, including human capital, physical capital, structural capital, the company will be able to create value added for the company. By increasing value added, the company financial performance will be increased, and the company value in the eye of stakeholder will be increased too. And then intellectual capital. Intellectual capital is an intangible asset in the form of information, knowledge resource of employee, organization, relationship with external, and their ability to create value added and make the company competitive advantage if the company can manage it properly. As the concept, intellectual capital refers to non-physical capital or intangible asset related to knowledge and experience, also the technology that being used. But in general, there is no definite definition of intellectual capital. And then value-added intellectual coefficient. It is an instrument to measure the intellectual capital performance of company, and this model begins with company ability to create value added. This model was developed by Pulik. Value added is calculated as difference between output and input. Output is revenue and input is all expense except employee revenue. Value added intellectual coefficient have three indicators. First, human capital efficiency. HCE show how much value added can be generated with the fund spent on the labor. According to resource-based theory, in order to compete with others, company needs good quality human resource and good human resource management. HCE become very important for company that create value. For example, by employing a workforce who has knowledge, innovation, expertise, and abilities, so provide company to take advantage of its human capital to generate profit. So it can be concluded that human capital influence the company performance. The second one is structural capital efficiency. It is an indication of how success of structural capital in value creation. Structural capital, including non-human storehouse of knowledge in organization, it's including database, chart, process, strategic, routine, that make value for company. Companies that have strong structural can support the work atmosphere and encourage employees to do better and increase the profit. And then the last one is capital employee efficiency. It describes how much value added companies generate from capital use. When comparing with other companies, capital employee is an indicator component in companies' intellectual capital to make better use of physical capital. Good capital employee will improve company performance. The study about intellectual capital has been studied previously, but the result of the study is inconsistent for one another. Uh, 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 the first study has been studied by Ferrer at 2003, Chen at 2005, Ulum et al. At 2008, Chu et al. At 2011, Kalmanik at 2012, Ahmad Solechan at 2017, and Kauduri at 2018. And this is for the conceptual framework for the research that will be also for the hypothesis for the research. Chapter 5. Chapter 5 will be discussed about research design, population and sample, data source and data collection, variable and analysis. Research design. This research is quantitative, so it will be used secondary data. Population and sample. Population is textile and garment companies with the criteria sample listed on IDX for period 2016 to 2019. Consistently published audited financial statement has data needed. Data source and collection is audited financial statement with the foreign currency is converted into rupiah. The variable will be used dependent are asset turnover, return on asset, return on equity. And independent will be human capital efficiency, structural capital efficiency, capital employee efficiency, and control will be size and leverage. And data analysis, descriptive statistical, classical assumption, regression will be used multiple linear, and testing hypothesis. This is the table of the total sample that will be used. Chapter 4, Result of Data Analysis. First, description analysis. First, descriptive analysis. In this analysis, it shows the minimum, a maximum, mean, standard deviation for each variable that being tested. Second, classical assumption test. First, normality test. Normality test is to determine the data is distributed normally or not. In this result, all the model value greater than 0.05 means the data are normally distributed. And then the second one is multicollinearity test. Multicollinearity test to determine whether the regression found a correlation between variable independent and dependent. In this test, all variables have tolerance greater than 0.01 and fifth less than 10. Means there is no multicollinearity in this test. The third one, heterodystaticity test. To test the regression model, the variance in quality occurs from residual. In this test, all variables above 0.05, so there is no heterodystaticity test. And then the last one is autocorrelation. Autocorrelation is to test if there is any autocorrelation in the test. And in this model, we'll be using a Darwin-Watson. And for the explanation, there is no autocorrelation. The last one is testing hypothesis. First, we'll be use the F-test. The F-test to test the simultaneous the effect of independent variable to dependent variable. Model 1 is to test on asset turnover, model 2 on return on asset, model 3 on return on equity. We're looking for the significant. If the significant greater than 0.05 means it's not simultaneously affect the dependent. But in this result, the significant less than 0.05, it means it simultaneously affect the dependent. And then the last one is the t-test. It's the test to test the effect of each predictor's variable on dependent variable. Again, for the model 1 is the test on asset turnover, model 2 on return on asset, model 3 on return on equity. And the right table is the conclusion of the t-test. From the table, we can see for hypothesis 1, there is a positive influence between human capital efficiency on financial performance. On the auto is rejected, on the ROA is accepted, and on ROE is rejected. But and for the hypothesis 2, there is a positive influence between structural capital efficiency on financial performance. And the result for this hypothesis for all variables are rejected. And the last one, hypothesis 3, there is positive influence between capital employee efficiency on financial performance. For asset turnover and return on asset, it's accepted, but for return on equity, it's rejected. Chapter 5, Conclusion, Limitation, Suggestion. So the conclusion is there is a positive influence between human capital efficiency on financial performance. The result, there is no significant effect on asset turnover and return on equity, and there is positive significant effect on return on asset. For hypothesis 2, there is positive influence between structural capital efficiency on financial performance. The result, there is no significant effect on return on asset, return on equity, and asset turnover. And for hypothesis 3, there is a positive influence between capital employee efficiency on financial performance, and the result, there is a positive significant effect on asset turnover and return on asset, and there is no effect on return on equity. So in conclude, not all intellectual capital components have an influence on the company financial performance. Limitation for this research is this research only examined manufacturing company in the textile and garment sector during 2016 to 2019, so the company used as a sample a relative view. The year observation in this study used for a period of 4 years, namely to 2016 to 2019. Difference in the result from difference in the time spent in the study may occur. And for the suggestions, the next research sample may be expanded to the other type of sector or other industry to obtain more comprehensive result. And the second is hope that future research can increase the time spent the observation period in order to see the effect of intellectual capital in longer period of time. And the last suggestion will be the future research can use other variable or other ratio to being researched. Okay, that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much.